Check a check. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nick Flanagan Weekly, your 4 times a week show of me, Nick, telling you stuff about how I think. Today's show is sponsored by eggs. What's for dinner? Eggs. If you're not vegan or you're vegetarian, but you're not ovo-lacto vegetarian. Eggs. That's what's for dinner. If you have run out of groceries and you live with your mom and there's just eggs. Eggsitis.com. Check it out. Hi, everybody. I was going to do an open mic today. And I decided against it. And I advise you to do the same. No need for anyone to do a comedy open mic. Phase them out, I say. What else is going on? Not a lot. Not a little. Watched, I want to really recommend a show to you. That's Hip Hop Evolution by the fine people at Banger Films. I slept on this, as they say in hip hop. I slept on it. I started watching season 2 last night with a very nice person, and we couldn't believe how good season 2 was. So much interesting stuff. Definitely didn't cover the breadth of all of the acts they were talking about, but even to get to see Moni Love, for instance, and be like, oh, that's Moni Love? She's amazing. If you don't know who Moni Love is, look her up. She's pretty interesting. And, Hip Hop Evolution, that was what I watched. And you should too. Of course, the big news this week is this video. We all may have seen. Some of us smartly skipped it. It's in the zeitgeist right now. Sort of represents a, I don't want to know, like a ramping up of things. I'm talking about this Nathan Phillips video. Nathan Phillips being the military veteran. I don't think he's actually a Vietnam veteran, but it sounds like he was in the military. In Washington, and there's the video of a bunch of creepy pro-life kids in Make America Great Again hats, hooting and hollering around him. And when I first saw this video, I said to myself, oh my god, this is so upsetting. What even is this? What am I watching? And then it only became more confusing. It's like the most confusing story I've heard in a while. And by the way, this is not... I'm just going to get past the clickbait. This is not... When I say clickbait, I mean, like, I'm not going to be a contrarian about all of this. I think just the fact these were a bunch of teens bust into a pro-life gathering makes me think that the whole thing is some sort of brutal setup. And I don't think these kids were operating in particularly good faith. But of course, the beginning of this story involves the Black Israelites, one of the more weird and hilarious cults out there. I knew about them from Jerry Springer. I watched Jerry Springer when I was a kid, and I was like, who the hell are these guys? Because I'd never seen such angry cultists. That's what's cool about the Black Israelites. They are pissed. And if you see them on the street corner, as they were in Toronto for a long time, as I know they were around New York and I guess in DC too, or at least special occasions in DC, they basically yell at you when you walk by them. They aggressively try to create conflict. As I've called them, they are like the flip side of the Westboro Baptist Church. So just to get this in context, these kids, after they hung out at March for Life and listened to Ben Shapiro speak in a high-pitched nasal voice and quickly about abortion and his thoughts on why it's so bad. These kids were then sent to wait for their bus with chaperones. Where was the place they were getting picked up? It just happened to be, I think, Union Square. Something with the square. Some name with the square by the Lincoln Memorial. Lincoln Square? I don't know. This exact spot was where an indigenous march seemed to be happening. Or at least right by there. And there were also the black Israelites hanging out, haranguing these kids for like an hour. And the bus didn't come for 2 hours. How did this get organized in this way? I don't know. But that's what happened. And this fella, Nathan Phillips, and a couple of other fellas with him, people with him, activists, he saw that tensions were escalating between these groups because these kids, in order to drown out the black Israelites, who were calling them crackers and incest babies and stuff. I mean, this is a very wild, intense... I don't mean to laugh, but this sounds like it's out of, like, Citizen Ruth or Confederacy of Dunces. This is a ludicrous turn of events. And life became satire a while ago. American life, at least. And this is just an extension of that. So, these kids are decide to drown out the rhetoric of the group of the black Israelites, and they're singing their school songs. There's just a Deadspin article that came out that shows pretty much what was happening. It's a really good clip of what was happening. Don't go on YouTube unless you're watching me on YouTube, because what you're going to find on YouTube are a lot of people spinning it, and a lot of things that claim to be the video that are basically doctored versions of this. And, so, things were kind of getting pretty aggressive. This was like, 50 kids or something screaming these school chants. Loud voices. It sounded very military. And then one kid jumps in front of them, takes off his shirt, and starts jumping up and down. Real stressful stuff. Real skull and bones kind of stuff. Not something I want to see a bunch of people who are celebrating babies do. Knowing all of these kids are like, well, I have to be a father if I have sex, does not fill me with hope. If anything, these kids are an argument for having an abortion. And I'm not saying they should be aborted. I'm saying they should make their girlfriends not get abortions if they become pregnant, because they're not ready to parent. Anyway, so this guy Nathan Phillips goes, well, I'm going to try to diffuse the situation. So he comes in, hitting his, I believe it's his drum. Let's just say it's a drum. I don't want to give it a wrong name. He's a sacred elder. I think he might be from the Cherokee tribe. I don't know. And he comes in. He starts beating this. And you've seen the video from there. But he's clearly not being violent. That's what's the most obvious. And he's also not pursuing these kids aggressively. He's beating this drum. And the kids do kind of mellow out after that and focus on him. So actually, what he was trying to do worked. And this one kid is smirking at him, blocking his way seemingly. Other kids are maybe doing tomahawk chop, making fun of him. Other kids legitimately, I'm not saying they're, respectful of him, but they definitely look like they're at a Doors concert or like a band, the band, and someone's brought out, or like they're getting into it in the way that a bunch of white kids at a music festival watching, Marlon I don't know. You know what I'm saying? These kids are like on a very superficial level, maybe appreciating the beat of the drum. That's all I'm saying. And of course, this created all this furor. The internet is horrible during this. I can't stop obsessing over this. And it's people were identifying the wrong kid. People were getting death threats who weren't the right kid. And the right kid's mom called the black Israelites black Muslims, which they definitely weren't. And then another video I saw called them black Israelis. They're not. That's like Ethiopian Jews. That's not even the same thing. Can we please have some nuance at least in all of this? And then that kid came out of the woodwork. I can't remember his name. Sandmann is his last name. That's a weird last name. And, I mean, when I say weird, it's just like, okay, what is that last name exactly? Is that Mormonic? I don't know. Someone tell me the basis of the name Sandmann with two N's at the end. And he gives this very different account of it, where he's clearly like the leader of the kids in this story. And he keeps on using the word startled. Oh, we were startled by the black Israelites, and we decided to drown them out with school songs. And he says he's the one that suggested the school songs. This kid is like a brainiac, a ringleader. Anyway. Startled. No high school student has ever been startled. No male high school student has admitted to being startled. Oh, you startled me. Is football practice soon? This is not how these kids think. No private school, no private Catholic school kid is like, oh, I've been startled. Speaking of being startled, he adds this Nathan Phillips walked towards him and that it startled him and it startled the rest of the people in the school. In his letter, this is what he says. I was startled and I didn't know what to do, so I just smiled to diffuse the situation because I knew this guy wanted a confrontation. What confrontation? I don't really know. Nathan Phillips was silent, hitting a drum. It didn't seem like a confrontation was what he was looking for. And by the way, Native people and frankly black people, it's like they're sort of in a position where confronting Europeans is a valid thing to do. And this is what's killing me about the whole thing, is if you're mad about this, mad at this kid, you want to hit this kid, you want to hit these kids, you hate these kids, think about what this guy was trying to do, Nathan Phillips. He was trying to peacefully diffuse the situation, which is, I think, what we should all be doing. And I'm not saying this to be super PC. It just is what makes sense. Nobody's going to war here. We can't. Tensions need to be lowered. And if the guy at the center of this video, if that's what he was trying to do, the right thing to honor him is, sure, to demand respect from these kids and an apology, whatever you want, bruh. But to not approach this in a warlike fashion. That being said, there's so much disinformation on the other side that I understand aggressive responses. So, and the fact that Donald Trump invited these kids to the White House, which is something that happened today, is just like, well, let's just say it's a little payback for the time the football team or the basketball teams were disinvited. He's like, you know who is getting invited? These pro-life teens. That's all. That's all I wanted to say. But what I was going to say too is, so if you are concerned about if this can help raise indigenous issues in the U.S., and if this can remind Canadians and other, places where there are indigenous people about respecting that culture, finding out as much as you can, helping, giving voice, that's the good thing there. and I ain't mad at you. So I'm going to give a link to a current thing happening in Canada right now, and it's going to be in the details, the show notes, and that's something you can look into for Native issues. And in the U.S., I really think you should look into missing Indigenous people, communities that don't have water, all that kind of stuff, because that's going on, you know. So everyone wants to make a big thing and basically make fun. I mean, the right is really funny because they're so might makes right that I think they have an element of viewing Native people and maybe even black people as like the vanquished, you know, and to hold power over them. And I just think that ain't right. So that's all. This is my Nathan Phillips take. Is it a take? I don't know. I basically summarized it for you, gave a bit of my feelings. If you're mad, you have every right to be mad. Just follow through. Do something. And it's not revenge on these kids. It's literally just trying to be peaceful and trying to help the people that you want to help. All right. This is me, January 22nd. Thank you for listening. And if you want to become a member on Patreon, I'm just posting my first reward tonight. It's going to be a clip of mine, a video clip no one's seen of pretty neat, a bit I'm proud of late that I've been doing, working on, where I get someone in the audience to ask me questions. You can check that out by donating whatever you want. And this show is 4 episodes a week. So it takes a lot to do that. And if you want to pledge any amount, that is really appreciated. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Love you.